I went and did it. I did the impossible, and I took DP, my personal beloved DP, to premium BCS. Hello folks, today we're going to be talking about and deck profiling my premium DP deck list. You guys have been asking for this for God knows how many months, and I have been working on it for that many months. It's just that I was waiting for my first BCS, which was supposed to be Germany, and then something came up, so it became France. And so I literally just waited until I would get over with that event, because I really wanted to talk about this deck. I almost talked about it after my first shop challenge, actually. I was really close to doing that, but yeah, I ended up waiting. I'm just kind of figuring out the lighting here, but yeah, I ended up waiting until the BCS to talk about this because I wanted to keep it quiet. However, as I mentioned in my reflection of the BCS France, this isn't the first time this deck has actually shown up at an event. It's actually gotten top 8 at a VGCS in Japan, and Vision actually has also covered it, but that article, I think, didn't get too many views, and that's why I was afraid that people saw it already and they knew how the deck worked. And I know that some people in the venue actually did know how it worked because they saw the videos and stuff like that. But I'm going to go over today the Dailiner Daikaiser deck profile. It's a super fun deck. It has a very nice win con that, like, going first is just ruthless, or, I mean, if your opponent just doesn't know what you're doing, it is just very, very strong. So I'm actually going to go in reverse order for once. I'm going to go over the starter. I mean, we don't usually go over starters in standard because they're terrible, but, I mean, not terrible, they're just, you know, always the same thing. But today's starter is the one and only original Goyusha. So his skill, I mean, he is a forerunner, so when you ride over him, he moves back, and then you choose 4 of your rear guards with Dimensional Robo in their card names and put them into your soul. If you have a grade 2 or greater Vanguard with Dimensional Robo in its card name, you search your deck for up to 1 grade 3 Dimensional Robo, a card, and write it, and then shuffle your deck. So you basically call like 3 more Dimensional Robo, slide them into soul, and search a grade 3. So you can do this twofold. You can either do this skill going first, you can be like an Azel, basically like go first, ride grade 2. If you have enough Dimensional Robos, then just appear right immediately into Dailiner, get a force 2, use a skill, and get yourself another crit, and then just like slap them. I mean, this is also kind of viable because if they don't have a PG that early, then they're going to have to take a lot of damage. And next turn you can just stride into X Gallop and hit them with a Restander, or just 4 drive checks and a Laurel or something. So it's pretty good. But that's like if you're going first, if you drew into all your Dimensional Robos and stuff like that. But the other thing is, which is the main win con of this deck, is to ride into Daikaiser manually and then use Goyusha's skill to search out for the Dailiner when you're on 4 damage, thus triggering the Daikaiser's Break Ride skill, and then being able to use Dailiner, using Laurel and all that stuff to get massive power, lots of crits, and get extra drive checks from the Daizaurus. So that's kind of the focus of this deck. Well, not really the focus, so more just like one of the gimmicks of the deck. So Goyusha as the starter, it's pretty self-explanatory. No point in main deck it because you can't reliably draw it, so there's no point. But the card is very good and worth playing for sure. Then, for Dailiner, so Dailiner, as you probably already know, is a first Force grade 3, and then Vanguard Circle Continuous. All your grade 3 units get plus 10k shield, which is really, really, really useful in premium. It helps you survive a lot of those like little poking attacks. Like, it helps you like deal with Morfessa, because they'll usually hit you for like 25k shield amount, so you can just drop a 15k plus a grade 3, and that helps because you have to guard with 2 cards at once, so this helps a lot. Also against like Katrina, against a lot of decks, honestly, like his skill helped me survive, and that's really, really important. His second skill, which is what you usually use if you either do the Daikaiser Break Ride combo or if you use just Goyusha early, is once per turn, Vanguard Circle, combust 1, Soul Blast 1, look at the top 7 cards, reveal up to 1 normal unit and add it to your hand. If it's a grade 3, then he gets plus 20k plus 1 crit. So he becomes huge and fat and just massive, and you do want to go for Force 2 in premium, especially because it's just better, honestly. It's simply better because you don't struggle with the power that much because you're running Laurel, and X Gallop can give himself power as well. And usually, like, if you can play smart with your soul, especially Goyusha gives you a lot of soul, you'll be able to reach power thresholds pretty easily without much stress. So yeah, like, I think it's not necessary to go into Force 1 ever in this deck. So 4 Dailiner is all you really need. I mean, well, 4 Dailiner is like the main Force ride target. Then the cheese and my avatar, the boy Daikaiser. So for those of you that are rather new and don't know what the legend himself does, So he's a limit break 4, meaning you have to have 4 damage. When a Dimensional Police unit rides on top of him, you may count boss 1, then give your Vanguard plus 10k and a crit, and the skill that when you drive check a grade 3 Dimensional Robo, a Dimensional Police card, you choose one of your opponent's Guardians, retire it, and that unit's effect with cannot be hit is nullified. So it nullifies PGs, and it destroys them. So his second skill doesn't matter. When he's boosted by a DP unit, he gets plus 2k. It just doesn't matter. He has Lord, but those skills don't matter. The point is, he has a break ride that you can go into. So your opponent does have to give you 4 damage. Now you might be thinking, why would you be running this? Because it's such a weird random card, doesn't have a force marker, all that stuff, yada yada yada. The whole thing is that, essentially, you can just sit on grade 2 for a while. Let your opponent do stuff like Azel can rush you, let plants rush you, hell, give them first stride if you want to, or, I mean, they can do that, but they can also just ride up and then you stride next turn without doing this combo, and then you just X-Gallop or something, and you can actually win that turn. But what often happens actually is, if the opponent doesn't know what you're trying to do, they might just grade 2 game you. And so then what you just basically do is sit on that grade 2, don't call much so that they can't, hit your rear guards and stuff. Just keep taking damage, go up to 4. And if they don't ride up the grade 3, especially decks like Luard tend to just stay on grade 2 from my experience quite a bit, or like Neo Nectar as well, then you wait until they give you 4, and then you do this, and you just win. Because they need to have drawn a perfect guard early, and if they did, I mean, you can still have a chance to just one-shot it. You have, essentially, you have +1 crit from the force, +1 crit from this, +1 crit from this. You're hitting a 4 damage already, with a Laurel hitting for 5 damage, so you can basically one-shot them super, super easily, and that's just beautiful, honestly. So it's a pretty interesting cheese, but in a lot of games you will just be discarding him for strike costs, so don't, get too tunnel visioned into the combo. And obviously, I know you're gonna say, I'm gonna get to the point of oh, your opponent can damage deny you, stop at 3 damage if they figure it out. Yes, and I think me having done this deck profile, a lot of people will think that every DP player will now be doing this, but instead, what you can do to 200 IQ them is to not play this, and have them stop at 3, and then you just ride up, stride in, and just kill them with the X-Gallop. But, I mean, that's another point for another video. But anyway, next card, which is honestly the card that makes DP Premium actually worth considering in tournaments, is Daizaurus. Also, huge thanks to Bram for selling me this. I traded some Tachi cards for this and some cash. Well, I gave him cash and Tachi cards for this. So Daizaurus is an amazing card. So first off, Vanguard Circle, during your turn he gets +5k for each of your damage. So sometimes if you misride into him, it's actually not even that bad. But you usually won't do that, especially in Premium. You got literally no reason to do that. But then, at the end of the battle that he attacks on Rearguard Circle, if your Vanguard's power is 35k or greater, you can count +1, slide him into Soul, give your Vanguard plus 10k and +1 drive. So you basically get 1 extra shot to either, do Daikaiser's guard break, or you just get, on your X-Gallop, you get a 5th drive, and then when it restands, you'll have another 1. Or on your Stark, you can have 2 drive checks on 3 attacks, which is also pretty huge. So this card, is super self-explanatory. You can also search it with Die-Earth, which I actually did once in the tournament, which was pretty interesting. I didn't expect myself to do that, but, I actually won that game too. So this card is just, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. If you use 2 of them, you can basically just get 4 drive checks on your first Daizaurus, 6 and 2 on your X-Gallop, or 3 drive checks on your 3 Stark attacks, which is also absolutely ridiculous. So 4 Daizauruses, you want to draw into him or whatever. And then I basically run 1 more grade 3 just to have more chances of triggering Daikaiser's skill, which is just the regular Daiusha. You can sometimes search him if your opponent really doesn't give you any counterblast. You can basically search him and basically use him as long as he's 35k or higher power to get that extra crit. So that way you're kind of doing the same thing as the Dailiner, but Dailiner gives you the chance to actually search out one of your Daizauruses for that early combo with Daikaiser, whereas you won't get that luxury with the Daiusha. So if your opponent only gave you 3 damage, and you did the combo, and I mean, I'll go into why you can still do that combo when you're at 3 and when we get to the grade 1s, but if you see that you're missing Counterblast, but you have 2 Daizauruses in hand, you can actually just search Daiusha, honestly, it's pretty fine. So I just run 1 just to have another grade 3. Then for grade 2s, they are abysmally low. but I mean, at the same time, I only had to G-assist like once in the whole tournament, and my playtesting didn't come up that much. So 4 Die Dragons, it's just a staple because it's a Soul Blast 1 for an extra 5k. You're always going to be 28 on your X Gallop if you're on Force 2, so you get to 33 with this, and then you can double power to get to 66 with the Laurel, and then you're going to boost with like a 5k to get up to 71, or you can get like 74 with a 8k grade 1, but essentially it's just good for that. Like also if you can use Die Dragon and another Die Dragon, or Die Dragon and Die Brave, you're gonna get up to 38, so 76, then plus the 5k boost or something, you're gonna be 81, ready to get the resign with Excalibur 2. So it's important just for that. His other skills that if he's 35k, if your Vanguard is 35k power or higher, he gets plus 10k. It sometimes comes up, not that much though. I mean, it's premium. It's in this deck especially, it's all about the Vanguard. Like really, if your opponent PGs your Vanguard twice, you just pass turn and let them sit there with everything face down. Like, that's just how it is. Then I run 4 Die Ballast. Several reasons. One thing is he's a 9k, which means that when you're playing against plants and Luard, if you want to damage deny them, especially like, I mean, Luard still runs Maka sometimes. Well, depending on where you live, it's either sometimes or all the time. And for Katrina, they have Irminsul, and Irminsul will give them extra draw, extra power, all that stuff. So if you want to damage deny them and still take damage, you can just swing unboosted with a 9, put all your triggers on the back or something, and then that way you're not giving them damage to do all these nasty things. So it's good for that. Also, if you feel that your opponent's going to be rushing you a lot, you can basically, or if you feel that your opponent is not going to give you the ability to do the Daikaiser combo, you can essentially just use this to early draw, because it basically gives your opponent, I should have said, it gives your Vanguard the skill that when it attacks you combos 1 to draw 1. So it's pretty nice. It can help you fish for random pieces, help you fish for another like Daizaurus or something, so it's pretty good for that. And it's Dimensional Robo name, meaning that you can use it with the Goyusha, which is really, really crucial. Now the card that I've basically mentioned about a dozen times, as it is the most key card in the deck, is the brand new Commander Laurel. Yes, we run 4 of the new one. Yes, the old one is bad. What new Laurel does, I mean it's already a year old, is once per turn rearguard circle combos 1 and rest 4 of your rearguards, can be including him, so keep that in mind. Choose one of your units and until end of turn, double its power and it gets crit plus 1. So as I said, X Gallop, you can set up first stride 80k X Gallop easily. Then you also give it an extra crit, so with the Force 2, it goes super, super well because it's just another crit, more pressure. Like, I had one game that ended in, I go into Stark, use Laurel on Force 2, 3 attacks with 3 damage each. Like, it's just hard to deal with that, you know, like when it's like hitting for like 50, 60, 70 plus. So, Laurel, good card, very good. It just does a lot of things. Like, it's great. The only problem with like this whole Daikaiser combo is that it eats up so many cards from hand, so it really is like all or nothing if you're gonna go for it, because you need 3 cards from hand for Goyusha, and then another 4, including the Laurel, for the Laurel. So it's quite a lot, and then you still want like Daizaurus in hand, so it's super, super reliant. That's why cards like Die Ballast aren't too bad. So that's why I think it's actually pretty good, and Laurel just carries the deck, honestly. Like, Laurel is just a miracle for the clan in premium. We don't run this in standard anymore because it's not necessary, but in premium this is just a miracle. I want to still experiment with other builds that I had in mind. Like, the problem was that like I made some builds that were there to counter OTT. Like, literally I made anti-OTT builds for this, or like DB decks to like just deal with OTT, and then it got banned. So I was like, well, I guess I'm playing my Daikaiser variant, and I really like it. I really, really do like this deck the most. I really do, because you have this interesting win con that takes people off guard. I haven't told the story yet, actually. I played this deck first time at my shop challenge, and I'll just go over Die Brave. I mean, it's 4 Die Brave. It's nothing too amazing. It's just on hit. It also has on hit. When it hits, your Vanguard hits the opponent's Vanguard, put him into your soul, draw a card. But I actually played this in my first shop challenge, and Solemn Vanguard was there. And then it was pretty funny because I didn't tell him what I was playing, but his teammate was like, oh, I bet he's going to play DP. And then round 1, we sit down, and then he saw these sleeves that I had, and he's like, wait, I remember you have these sleeves only on your DP, on your premium DP, and I was like, perhaps maybe I changed sleeves or something. But then I do the Daikaiser combo on him playing OTT pre-ban, and then he was just like, holy shit. But we were playing best of 3, so he actually beat me on games 2 and 3 because then he worked it out. And yeah, but game 1 was just like, I was just like, okay, the deck is doing what it needs to do. It actually, the combo, the surprise factor does actually work. Then now, here comes the spicy stuff that is actually basically techs and ways to deal with other decks. First things first is 2 Glory Makers. So you'll know that this card was run as a 4 of in the original list that topped. So basically, Glory Maker's skill is Rearguard Circle when it boosts. If the boosted unit's power is 30k or greater, count plus 1, your opponent can only call grade 0 cards from their hand until end of that battle. So they can still G-Guard, obviously, but we have some decks right now in the meta that do have grade 1 PGs, such as Neonectar runs the Lilgas, and then Luard runs the, I always forget the name of that PG, but it's the one that, you know, returns itself back to hand from drop zone. So we have some of these super prominent decks that run grade 1 PGs. How do we punish that? Well, Glory Maker. Because, I mean, Katrina can literally go first stride, search 3 Lilgas. That's what happened to me in the BCS, actually. Search 3 Lilgas, return to hand, pass. And then Luard can just bring back their PG back to hand so they can deal with your stuff. And then, I mean, it's just a lot of stuff. The only thing to keep in mind is that against stuff like Grand Blue that can call the PG from the drop zone, this won't work, so keep that in mind. So the original list ran this as a 4 of. I decided that since, like, I initially also had it because for Neonectar, they either run Lilga or they don't run PGs at all. And so I was like, well, at least then I don't even have to use this against Neonectar because if they don't run PGs, then I'll beat them anyway. And then if they do run PGs, then this will take care of it. But they have to search those PGs usually, you know, if they want to use them consistently. Whereas then there was OTT, which literally didn't run PGs going off the GP Akiba list. And then they just relied on Protect. And this rules out Protect because you can only guard with grade 0s. So they would actually lose their Protect ability. And so this was really good. I think it's still going to be good going forward. There's still those 2 decks that I said are still very prominent. And honestly, like, this will take me to the discussion of my next card, which is when you playtest for premium, you playtest against the most popular decks, the stuff that's super meta, and I mean, if you can, against the best players you know. But thing is, when you go into a regional, not all players will know how to play around you, and they won't have prepared the same way. And so the ways that your friends that you playtest with that are good players and know how to outplay you, your random opponent at BCS might not. And so I ran 2 Limit Break removers. So that's what I meant by I have a way to do the combo at 3 damage. So I ran Limit Break removers for several reasons. Laurel also has one of the reasons, which is under 8k base means you can damage deny. This comes in handy against some decks that have a really strong early game. I even damage denied like Novas because I was afraid of the kick. But so damage denying is important. But thing is, I put this in because what I was losing to is, like, what I was afraid of is that people will have caught on to the deck, they'll have known about it, and they're going to just stop me at 3, basically. And I was like, well, no, I'm going to play this so that I can actually still do my combo. You know, it's not that reliant because, you know, I can't search it, you have to have it in hand and all that stuff, but it's still an option, and it's a good option. And then I never had to use it. And it's 5k shield because it's an old grade 1, and so I essentially, like, this was a dud, but I think the reason why I kept this in now, like, for the deck profile is because going forward, if this deck does become the more popular, or like the DP premium deck that more people play, then this will be good again, because more people will actually know about the Daikaiser combo, and they're going to try to stop you at 3, so then you can just try to use this and still do it at 3. So it's kind of interesting. I do like it. I don't want to run 4 Glory Makers, so that's why you kind of have this, like, flex spot, in my opinion, but yeah. Then for trigger lineup, it's, I mean, super straightforward. It's just 8 crits, all are dimensional robos because you usually put them into your soul if you don't have anything else for the Goyusha. And then, I mean, 4 heals, 4 drop PGs. It's nothing too complex. It's just a good trigger lineup. You don't want to drop the drop PGs because they will help you survive some matchups, because sometimes you'll just have to play regular Vanguard, like no combos, no random stuff. You just stride into your Excalibur and you need to just survive for a turn before you can win on the next Excalibur turn or on the Stark turn. So that's just how it is, honestly. It's as simple as that. So you do want to run the drop PGs, but let me go over the G-Zone, because it does have, I mean, it's not that spicy. It's pretty, you know, regular. So first we have X Gallop. This is the main stride of the deck. He has a GB3, gets plus 10k for every face-up card in your G-zone, and then his auto is Burst. Counterblast 1 Vanguard Circle. When it attacks, if this unit's power is 40k or higher, you counterblast 1 and flip a G unit face up, and then he gets plus 1 drive. At the end of the battle, if his power is 80k or higher, you can stand him and he loses 4 drive. So I've already been talking about him throughout the whole video. He just swings with 40. Obviously, keep in mind, you start out at 28 with a Force 2, so that's why people are like, ooh, Force 1 might be better because you can go up to 38, but no, it's not. The extra crit is much more valuable, and you can still set up the restand as I talked about in the Laurel segment, so if you've been skipping through this video, you missed out on something crucial. But yeah, so X Gallop is just an amazing stride. It scales into late game. Your first stride, you might not get the restand, but don't worry about it. Like, just having the 4 drive checks is enough, honestly. And if you can't get the power for the 4th drive check, then don't worry, I have some, you know, backup strides for you. Actually, I'll just go over it now, that I actually did go into in this tournament because I had that situation come up once, which is Die Earth. Die Earth is actually quite okay because he basically is Counterblast 2 and Persona Flip, search for a grade 2 and grade 3 dimensional Robo and call them and shuffle your deck. So you'll search something like a Die Dragon and a Daizaurus. You can get yourself an extra drive check, helps you draw into your pieces and stuff like that. And so it's a fine card, honestly. Sometimes your opponent just gives you way too much Counterblast because they don't know what's gonna come. Like, they haven't played against this deck, they haven't playtested, they don't know how to prepare for it, so they'll just give you too much Counterblast randomly, and then you can just use it and punish them. It feels pretty good, man. Then the card that I almost went into for like 3 rounds, which is our brand new Final Daimax DX. So this was basically usually around 2nd stride after I G-guarded. I'd be like, damn, I could actually kill my opponent because I can give crit to everything. So his skill is, when he attacks, you flip a unit face up and put all your resting rear guards into your soul. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck, call up to the... You actually have to reveal them, so you have to show them to both players. Call up to the same number of cards as number of face-up cards in your G-zone, from among them to rear guard circle in order the highest power to lowest, and shuffle your deck. If you put 4 more cards into your soul for this, cost all the units you call, and him as well, get plus 10k and plus 1 crit. So... it's also interesting because if you swing with him and you have like 4 resting rear guards and 1 standing, you can put everything in, call stuff out, and the new one, the one that was still standing there, will still get the power and the crit. That's just worth to note. But it's a big RNG move, but if you see that your opponent's hand is kind of low, but maybe they have like 1 PG or something, then maybe going for this is fine because you can just like set up a huge field full of power and crits, and it can be kind of punishing. But I had a few situations where that almost came up in the tournament, but I don't know, like, I still won those games, so I don't know how worth that was. Then I played 2 Daikaiser Leons, just because we do run Daikaiser, so I was like, well, why not? His skill is just act once per turn, GB2, Counterblast 1 and Persona Flip, and then if you have a hard card with Kaiser in his card name, then he gets a skill when you drive check a grade 3, Daikaiser skills. So I only run this because when you're at 5 and you just happen to have a Daikaiser in hand, or if your opponent's at 4 actually, you can just go for this and like give him extra drive checks from Daizaurus, for example, and then essentially your opponent just has to pray, because if you're checking like 4 times or something and then you check a grade 3 from among them, it's pretty scary because with Force 2, I mean, it's gonna be super devastating. Even if there are 3, honestly, it can be pretty scary. Again, keep in mind, you have Laurel. Like, this card is actually not too bad. It's just like, if you... Like, obviously you should count your grade 3s before, you know, choosing which stride you're going to go into for that turn, because this is very much that kind of card where if you see that you have a lot of grade 3s left in deck, go for it, because chances are your opponent can guard it. So, especially with Laurel's double power, it's pretty nutty. So, good card, honestly. Like, I love that Kaiser. I will do everything for him, so no judge. 2 original Daimaxes, I never went into this card a single time because my field usually was just gone before I restarted my turn. It's act once per turn, flip a G unit. If you have a hard card with dimensional Robo in his card name, he gets plus 10k. If you have 2 or more face-up G units, he gets a crit. And if you have 4 or more face-up G units, then all your dimensional Robos in your front row get another plus 5k and plus 1 crit. So you can basically give your whole front row a bunch of crits. I have an SP one. I basically ran him just because I didn't have much else to run. You can run like X lead and stuff like that instead. I never went into this. It's not really that good. The power is just too small to matter right now. If you gave 10k to the front row, that'd be a different question. But right now, it's just, with new triggers, this guy just doesn't really do much. It's pretty unfortunate. And then the second best trident in the whole deck is Stark. So, spoiler alert, you probably shouldn't build this deck if you can't afford Stark. I mean, this whole deck's pretty expensive, actually. Like, DP prices aren't the nicest. Maybe the main deck isn't that pricey because Dailiner isn't that expensive, but yeah, Stark is very important because his skill is on place. I mean, it is an ultimate strike, so you have to discard the same cost as my Vanguard, blah 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 blah. But when plays combos 2, and then he will attack 3 times, but lose 2 drives for that turn, and he doesn't rest when he attacks, so he just like a Yu-Gi-Oh card, he just like pokes. So yeah, Stark is very good because of Laurel and Daizaurus and all that good stuff. So Stark is super important. I win a lot of games thanks to this when I don't get to do the combo. It's just, actually I win most games thanks to Stark. Stark is just amazing. Like, it's just great. That's all it is. Then for G-Guards, 1 Excalibur. I don't want to delay this video too long. Excalibur is just 50k shield when placed. If the attacking unit's power is 30k or higher, then he gets plus 10k shield. And then you can also, what I actually did sometimes, is discard a card to give your Vanguard plus 4k. The only problem is that you do that, and then your Vanguard becomes 17, which is then like Axel and Protect numbers. So it's like, I mean, it's fine, but it doesn't actually make such a marginal difference unless all of their attacks were like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, you know. So it can help sometimes. It depends how your opponent's field has been generated, because you can basically interrupt their whole like battles with that. So it's pretty good. The G-Guard I went into the most because it counter charges and soul charges is Atlantis Dolphin. GB1 though, so keep that in mind. You flip a G-Guard face up, and when he's placed on Guardian Circle, he basically gets plus 5k. It has to be during the battle of your opponent's Vanguard attack, so keep that in mind. You pay the cost, and he gets plus 5k shield for every one of your rear guards. And if his shield is 30k or higher, you counter charge 1, soul charge 1. So you have to basically keep 3 rear guards on board. If you keep all 5, then it'll be a 40k shield, which is super, super big. And I mean, sometimes after the Laurel, you will actually have that, so worth to note. Then 1 Dismal, never used it, but I mean, it's there. It's like, it will have some uses against some clans, but I just didn't have any uses for it. I usually flipped it. Then GO5, I use this a lot because it's the other like 30k shield, quote unquote. Because first, you have to Soul Blast the card with 5000 power or higher when he's placed, and he gets plus 10k shield. And if you took a damage this turn, then he gets another 5k shield, so he becomes 30k. So he's 25 or 30, which is good because it's either 38 or 40 on your Vanguard. And then this is just against, I mean, rogue stuff, because I mean, I guess it's fine against Neo-Nectar to some extent, because essentially when you place him, you Soul Blast 1, and one of your opponent's units gets minus 5k power, and then if the number of cards in your damage zone is more than your opponent's damage, or the same, I believe was the misprint on this card, you can counterblast 1 and essentially choose one of your Vanguards to give it plus 5k power, so you can become 18 and deny a bunch of attacks just like Excalibur. Very nice. So that's the deck. This is it. This is the peak culture. This is where it all goes to, ladies and gentlemen. Honestly, like, this deck is super fun. I had a good time. I went 5-3 with it. Honestly, if I could go back and make less misplays, I would, because I mean, I only misplayed in round 1. Other games I just didn't draw into stuff. But yeah, so good deck. Honestly, I had a lot of fun. I'm not going to delay this video too much more because it's already getting close to 30 minutes and I do want to close it out. So thank you so much for watching. If you have other questions, do let me know in the comments. And if you top with a deck like this or any DP Premium, then please at me on Twitter, because I'd be interested to see on how DP evolves in Premium in the future, because I'm going to be retiring this deck for now, but it was a really fun ride. So I'll see you guys. I mean, I'll see Daikaiser in the next iteration of DP support probably, but it's a fun deck. I'll probably play it some more in casuals, but yeah, so that's gonna be for me today. Don't forget to check out my second channel in the description, as well as Twitch and all that stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.